Hey up my duck YouTube to another video. Welcome to the history of Leeds United Football Club. As if my week can't get any worse. Losing 3-0 to Middlesbrough and then realising that the history of your club this week happens to be one of my least favourite of Leeds United. Things can only get better than this week. I hope you're having a good time, unless you're, of course, a Leeds fan, because you're guaranteed to rage at me in the comments like last time. Probably self-deserved, to be fair, putting you last place in the Premier League. But it's not going too well for you either at the moment. Let's just get into this before I get any more hate. We'll start with Leeds United's predecessor, Leeds City Football Club. This was formed in 1904 and elected to league membership in 1905. They drew bigger crowds to Ellen Road following Herbert Chapman's arrival. In 1914, Chapman declared, "This city is built to support top-flight football." But Leeds City were forcibly disbanded and forced to sell off all their players by the Football League in 1919, in response to allegations of illegal payments to players during the First World War. In 1919, Leeds United was formed and received an invitation to enter the Midland League, being voted into it on the 31st of October, taking the place vacated by Leeds City reserves. Following Leeds City disbanding, Yorkshire Amateurs bought the Stadium 8 of Ellen Road. Yorkshire Amateurs offered to make way for the new team under the management of former player Dick Ray. The chairman of Huddersfield Town, Hilton Crofer, loaned Leeds United £35,000 to be repaid when Leeds United won promotion to Division 1. He brought in Barnsley's manager Arthur Fairclough, and on the 26th of February 1920, Dick Ray stepped down to become Fairclough's assistant. On the 31st of May 1920, Leeds United were elected to the Football League. Over the following years, they consolidated their position in the second division, and in 1924 won the title, with it for promotion to the first division. They failed to establish themselves and were relegated in 1926-27. After a relegation, Fairclough resigned, which paved way for Ray to return as manager. In the years up until the start of the Second World War, Leeds were twice relegated, and on both occasions they were re-promoted the following season. On the 5th of March 1935, Ray resigned and was replaced by Billy Hampson, who remained in charge for 12 years. In the 1946-47 season, after the war, Leeds were relegated again, with the worst league record in their history. After this season, Hampson resigned, although he did stay on with Leeds as their chief scout for 8 months. April 1947 by Willis Edwards. Edwards was moved to assistant manager in April 1948, after 1 year as being manager. He was replaced by Major Frank Buckley. Leeds remained in the second division until 1955-56, when they once again won promotion to the first division, inspired by John Charles. Charles was hungry for success at the highest level, and manager Reich Carter was unable to convince him that Leeds could satisfy his ambitions. Charles was sold to Juventus for then a world record of £65,000. The loss of Charles resulted in Leeds being relegated to the second division in the 1959-60 season. In March 1961, the club appointed former player Don Revie as manager, following the resignation of Jack Taylor. His stewardship began in adverse circumstances. The club was in financial difficulty, and in 1961-62, only a win in the final game of the season saved the club from relegation to Division 3. Revie implemented a youth policy and a change of kit colour to an all-white strip in the style of Real Madrid, and Leeds won promotion to the first division in 1963-64. In the 1964-65 campaign, Leeds finished second to rivals Manchester United on goal difference. They also reached the final of the FA Cup, losing 2-1 to Liverpool at Wembley after extra time. In the 1965-66 campaign, Leeds again finished second in the league, was also reaching the semi-finals of the Intercities Fairs Cup, losing on aggregate to Spanish side Real Zaragoza, despite manager Revy ordering the fire brigade to flood the pitch before the replay at Ellen Road. Just starting the beginning of dirty Leeds here. In 1966-67, Leeds finished 4th in the league, as well as reaching the semi-finals of the FA Cup, losing 1-0 to Chelsea, and the final of the Intercities Fairs Cup, losing 2-0 to GNK Dinamo Zagreb. When Leeds failing to land a trophy, they nearly doubled their record transfer in 1967-68, buying Sheffield United centre-forward Mick Jones for £100,000. Leeds did win the League Cup, with Terry Cooper scoring the only goal of a 1-0 victory in the final against Arsenal. Leeds had little league and FA Cup success, however, as they finished in 4th place and were beaten in the FA Cup semi-finals by Everton. They instead reached a second successive Intercities Fairs Cup final, beating Hungarian club Ferencváros over 2 legs. Leeds won the first leg 1-0 and a month later defended their lead with a 0-0 draw in Budapest. Having found success in both domestic and European Cup competitions, manager Revy chose to focus on the league for the 1968-69 campaign. Leeds secured the title in April 1969 with a 0-0 draw with challenger Liverpool at Anfield, whose supporters congratulated Leeds. Leeds set a number of records, including the most points with 67, most wins 27, and fewest defeats with 2, and most home points at 39. This is still an unbroken club record, as their 34-match unbeaten run that extended into the following season. Leeds fostered their front breaking the British transfer record by signing Alan Clark from Leicester City for £165,000. They targeted the treble in 1969-70 and came to achieving this only to fail on all 3 fronts in a congested close season. Finishing second in the league to Everton, losing the 1970 FA Cup final to Chelsea after a replay, and exiting the European Cup with a semi-final defeat to Celtic. Having rejected an offer to manage Birmingham City, Revy chose to remain at Leeds for the 1970-71 campaign. Leeds and Arsenal both challenged for the title that season, but it would be the Gunners who would claim the league title, finishing 1 point ahead of Leeds after the latter lost to West Bromwich Albion following a controversial offside goal. United were also knocked out of the FA Cup by 4th Division side Colchester United. Leeds again found success in the Intercities Fairs Cup, though, beating Juventus in the final on away goals. Leeds again finished as runners-up in the 1971-72 season, but United did reach the 1972 FA Cup final, lifting the trophy after a 1-0 victory over Arsenal in the final. In the 1972-73 season, the Whites again came close to a treble, but they finished 3rd in the league and lost the 1973 FA Cup final to 2nd Division against all expectations. Leeds also reached the final of the European Cup Winners' Cup against Italian club AC Milan at the Catanzaro Stadium, where they were beaten 1-0 following some controversial refereeing. Revy was offered the manager's role at Everton in the summer, but chose again to remain at Leeds. They won the First Division with a 5-point lead over the second Liverpool. Revy chose to take the job as team manager at the end of the 1973-74 season. In his 13 years in charge, Revy guided Leeds to 2 Football League First Division titles, 1 FA Cup, 1 League Cup, 2 Intercities Fairs Cup, 1 Football League Second Division title, and 1 Charity Shield. He also guided them to 3 more FA Cup finals, 2 more FA Cup semi-finals, 1 more Intercities Fairs Cup final, and 1 Intercities Fairs Cup semi-final, 1 European Cup Winners' Cup final, and 1 European Cup semi-final. The team also finished second in the Football League First Division 5 times, third once and fourth twice. In a survey of leading football writers, historians and academics by the Total Sport magazine, Revy's Leeds United were voted as one of the 50 greatest football teams of all time. And as you can tell by what I've just been saying, it's fairly obvious why. Following the 1973-74 season, Revy left Leeds and Ellen Road to manage England national team, as I said. But Brian Clough was appointed as a Revy successor. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of Brian Clough and what he's done at Derby. This was a surprise appointment, actually, as Clough had been an outspoken critic of Revy and the team's tactics. Clough's 10 years manager started badly with a defeat in the Charity Shield against Liverpool, in which Billy Bremner and Kevin Keegan were sent off the field. Under Clough, the team performed poorly, and after only 44 days, he was dismissed. And I think he then went to Derby at that point. Clough was replaced by former England captain Jimmy Armfield. Armfield took Revy's ageing team to the final of the 1974-75 European Cup, in which they were defeated by Bayern Munich under controversial circumstances. Why does everything seem to be controversial with Leeds? Maybe it's just because it's not controversial, just trying to look for an excuse. Assisted by coach Don Howe, Armfield rebuilt Revy's team, and though it no longer dominated English football, it remained in the top 10 for subsequent seasons. However, the board became impatient for success and dismissed Armfield in 1978, replacing him with Jock Stein, who also lasted just 44 days before leaving to manage Scotland. The board appointed Jimmy Adamson, but he was unable to stop the decline, and in 1980 Adamson resigned and was replaced by former player Alan Clark. Despite spending freely on players, he was unable to stem the tide, and the club was relegated at the end of 1981-82. Clark was replaced by former teammate Eddie Gray. With no money to spend on team building, Gray concentrated on youth development, but was unable to guide them to promotion from the second division. The board again became impatient and sacked Gray in 1985, replacing him with another Revy teammate, Billy Bremner. Bremner found it just as difficult to achieve promotion, although Leeds reached the 1987 playoff final, but were defeated by Charlton Athletic. Leeds also enjoyed a near miss in the FA Cup, losing out to Coventry City in the semi-finals. In October 1988, with the team 21st in the second division, Bremner was fired to make way for Howard Wilkinson. Leeds avoided relegation that season, and in March 1989 signed Gordon Strachan from Manchester United for £300,000. The Scottish midfielder was named captain and helped Leeds win the second division in 1989-90 and gain promotion back to the first division. Under Wilkinson, Leeds finished fourth in 1990-91, and in the 1991-92 season, they won the title of the last ever Division 1 as top tier. As the next season, it was replaced by the Premier League. However, the 1992-93 season saw Leeds exiting the Champions League in the early stages and eventually finishing 17th in the league, having won no away matches in the league. They narrowly avoided relegation, therefore. Wilkinson's Leeds were unable to provide any consistent challenge for honours, and his position was not helped by a poor display in the 1996 League Cup final, which Leeds lost to Aston Villa. Leeds could only finish 13th in 1995-96, and after a 4-0 home defeat by Manchester United early in 1996-97, Wilkinson had his contract terminated. One of the legacies of Wilkinson and youth coach Paul Hart was the development of Leeds United's youth academy, which has produced numerous talented footballers over the years. Leeds appointed George Graham as Wilkinson's successor. This appointment was controversial, as Graham had previously received a 1-year ban from FA for receiving illegal payments from a football agent. Graham made some astute purchases and also helped blood youngsters from Leeds' Youth Cup winning side. By the end of the 1997-98 season, Leeds with O'Leary. Under O'Leary and assistant Eddie Gray, Leeds never finished outside the top 5 of the Premier League and secured qualification for both the UEFA Cup and the UEFA Champions League, enjoying cup runs to the semi-finals of both competitions. However, during the same period, the team's image was tarnished when players Jonathan Woodgate and Lee Bowyer, both now managers, ironically, or were, and I think they're looking for new clubs now, were involved in an incident when they left an Asian student in hospital with severe injuries. The resulting court case took nearly 2 years to resolve. Bowyer was cleared, but Woodgate convicted of affray and sentenced to community service. Additionally, in the UEFA Cup semi-final against Galatasaray in Istanbul, 2 Leeds fans were stabbed to death before the game. Under chairman Peter Ridsdale, Leeds had taken out large loans against the prospect of a share of the TV rights and sponsorship revenues from the UEFA Champions League qualification and subsequent progress in the competition. However, Leeds narrowly failed to qualify for the Champions League in 2 successive seasons, and as a consequence did not receive enough income to repay the loans. The first indication that the club was in financial trouble was the sale of Rio Ferdinand to Manchester United for approximately £30 million. Ridsdale and O'Leary publicly fell out over the sale, and O'Leary was sacked and replaced by former England manager Terry Venables. Leeds performed woefully under Venables, and other players were sold to repay the loans, including Jonathan Woodgate, whom Ridsdale had promised Venables would not be sold. Tensions mounted between Ridsdale and Venables, and with the team underachieving, Venables was sacked and replaced by Peter Reid. Ridsdale resigned from the Leeds board and was replaced by existing non-executive director, Professor John Mackenzie. At this time, Leeds were in danger of relegation, but managed to avoid the drop in the penultimate game of the season, beating Arsenal 3-2 at Highbury with a late strike by Mark Viduka. Reid was given a permanent contract at Leeds the following summer and brought in several players on loan. An unsuccessful start to the 2003-04 season saw Reid dismissed and Eddie Gray take over as caretaker manager until the end of the season. An insolvency specialist, Gerald Krasner, led a consortium of local businessmen which took over Leeds and oversaw the sale of the club's assets, including senior and emerging youth players of any value. Leeds were relegated during the 2003-04 season. Following relegation to the Championship, assistant manager Kevin Blackwell was appointed manager. Most of the remaining players were sold or released on free transfers to further reduce the high wage bill. Blackwell was forced to rebuild almost the entire squad through free transfers, and were forced to sell both their training ground and stadium in the autumn of 2004. The board finally sold the club to Ken Bates for £10 million. Under Blackwell, Leeds reached the Championship's playoff final, which they lost to Watford. With the team performing poorly, Blackwell's contract was terminated and Leeds hired John Carver as caretaker manager. But his spell was not a success and was relieved of his duties, with Dennis Wise eventually installed as his replacement. Wise was unable to lift the team out of the relegation zone for much of the season, despite bringing in a number of experienced loan players and free transfers on short-term deals. With relegation virtually assured, Leeds entered administration on the 4th of May of 2007. Thus incurring a league-imposed 10-point deduction that officially relegated the club to the 3rd tier of English football. The club had previously never played any lower than the 2nd tier. The players whom Wise had brought in were released. He was forced to build a squad almost from scratch, and because of administration, Leeds were unable to sign any players until a few days before the opening game of the season. On the 3rd of July 2007, HM Revenue and Customs launched a legal challenge to Leeds creditors' voluntary agreement. Under league rules, if a club was still in administration at the start of the following season, Leeds would have been prevented from starting their campaign by the Football League. Following a challenge by HMRC, the club was put up for sale by KPMG, and again Ken Bates' bid was accepted. The league eventually sanctioned this under the exceptional circumstances rule, but imposed a 15-point deduction due to the club failing to exit administration with the CVA, as the Football League rules required. On the 31st of August 2007, HMRC decided not to pursue its legal challenge any further. I mean, you basically just should have been taken further, I think. Despite the 15-point deduction, Wise and his assistant Gus Poyet guided Leeds to a playoff position, only for Poyet to leave for Tottenham, and Wise quitting to take up his position at Newcastle United. Wise was replaced by former club captain Gary McAllister. Leeds went on to secure a place in the playoff final, but were beaten by Doncaster Rovers. The following season saw a poor run of results, and McAllister was sacked after a run of 5 defeats in a row. He was replaced by Simon Grayson, who resigned from his post as the manager of Blackpool to take the position. Leeds the playoffs once again, but were beaten over the 2 legs of the semi-finals by Millwall. In 2009-10, the team secured the best start ever to a season by a Leeds side and caused a major upset in the third round of the FA Cup by beating Manchester United at Old Trafford. After the impressive run in the FA Cup, Leeds' league form suffered, with the team taking just 7 points from a possible 24. However, the team rallied and Leeds won their final game of the season to confirm promotion to the Championship as runners-up to Norwich City. Leeds spent much of the 2010-11 season in the playoff places, but eventually finished in 7th place, just missing out on the playoffs. In May 2011, it was announced that Leeds chairman Ken Bates had bought the club and become the owner of Leeds. Before the match against Middlesbrough, about 300 Leeds fans protested about what they saw as a lack of investment in the playing side, to which Bates responded by calling the protesters morons. Despite securing promotion to the Championship, Grayson was sacked after failing to mount a consistent challenge for promotion to the Premier League. Neil Warnock was appointed as the club's new manager on the 18th of February, with initial contract lasting up until the end of 2012-13 season. On the 21st of November 2012, Middle East-based private equity group GFH Capital finalised a deal for a protracted takeover of Leeds, gaining 100% shareholding in the club. It was also announced that Ken Bates would remain as chairman until the end of the 2012-13 season and then become club president. The takeover was officially completed on the 21st of December 2012. Despite runs to the quarterfinals of the League Cup and the 5th round of the FA Cup, albeit with both runs ending in 5-goal thrashings by Chelsea and Manchester City respectively, Leeds' league form in the 2012-13 season was generally mediocre, with the club never making any real challenge for the playoff places. Warnock resigned with 6 games remaining and Leeds just 5 points above the relegation zone. Brian McDermott replaced Warnock and the club won 3 of their final 5 games of the season, enough to avoid relegation. That summer, Bates stepped down as chairman and ultimately left the club altogether a few weeks later following a dispute over expenses. On the 7th of January 2014, Leeds United's managing director David Hay, I think David Hay will go, was involved in Sport Capital, a consortium involving the managing director of Leeds United's main sponsors, Enterprise Insurance, Andrew Flowers. Sports Capital came close to completing a transaction with GFH Capital that would have given them a 75% stake in the business. On the 30th of January, Sport Capital's takeover collapsed due to a lack of financial backing. Hay released a statement conceding that it was unable to complete a deal despite 2 months ago agreeing to purchase a 75% stake in the club from the owner's Gulf Finance House. He said he and Sport Capital had injected substantial sums into the club to ensure its viability. But early in the week, fellow consortium member Andrew Flowers, the managing director of Leeds short shirt sponsor Enterprise Insurance, stated that GFH had breached their covenant with us after inviting a rival bid from Massimo Cellino, the president of the Serie A club Cagliari Calcio. Hayes' statement read, "As fans know, we signed a shared acquisition agreement with GFH Capital at the end of last year. This meant, I believe, that we were in a position to move things forward and complete the transaction in time for the January transfer window. Unfortunately, however, some of the consortium's backers ultimately didn't feel able to deliver the financial backing we had hoped was agreed to take the club forward." On the 31st of January 2014, under controversial circumstances, it was reported that manager Brian McDermott had been removed from his position as club's manager following a string of poor results. While the controversy surrounding the club was resolved, new club captain Ross McCormack expressed his support for the former manager. By the 3rd of February, the BBC was reporting that McDermott had been called by a lawyer representing Massimo Cellino and told he had been relieved of his duties. However, Cellino still did not own the club, as the Football League had not yet approved his purchase, so neither he nor his lawyer could sack the manager. McDermott, therefore, remained in his post. After weeks of speculation regarding the purchase of Leeds United, on the 7th of February 2014, Leeds United had announced that they had exchanged contracts for the sale of Leeds to Cellino's family consortium, Eleonora Sport Limited. The deal saw Cellino family acquire a 75% ownership of the club, subject to Football League approval. At its meeting of the 23rd of March 2014, the Board of Football League decided unanimously that Cellino's conviction by an Italian court meant that he did not meet its owners and directors test, so he could leave Leeds United. In the backdrop of Cellino's takeover, Leeds suffered an appalling second half of the season, dropping from the playoff places to the fringes of relegation battle. In the end, the weak performances of the teams below Leeds meant that they were never in any real danger of going down, and a late run of wins put survival beyond doubt well before the end of the season. However, McDermott still resigned his post a few weeks after the season had ended. On the 5th of April, Cellino was successful in his appeal with independent QC Tim Kerr to take over the club. The takeover was completed on the 10th of April, with Cellino's company, Eleonora Sport Limited, buying 75% of the club's shares. 2 months later, the inexperienced Dave Hockaday was surprisingly appointed head coach, with Junior Lewis hired as his assistant. After only 70 days, the pair were fired by Cellino. Darko Milanic was given head coach position in September 2014, but left the club the following month. On the 1st of November 2014, Neil Redfern was confirmed as the new head coach. On the 1st of December 2014, Cellino was disqualified by the Football League after it obtained documents from the Italian court where he was found guilty of tax evasion. He was disqualified from running the club until the 10th of April 2015. And on the 24th of February 2015, Cellino announced he would not be returning to the club after his ban ended. Redfern was replaced by Hugh Rosler as head coach in the summer of 2015, but Rosler was himself replaced by Steve Evans after only a few months in the role. On the 30th of October 2015, Cellino agreed a deal in principle with Leeds Fans United to sell a majority stake in the club. When asked to legally commit to an exclusivity period to allow due diligence to commence, he reneged. On the 2nd of June 2016, Gary Monk was appointed as the new head coach, replacing Steve Evans. On the 4th of January 2017, Italian businessman Andrea Radrizzani purchased a 50% stake in the club from Massimo Cellino. The club missed out on the playoffs. Leeds had been in the playoff positions for the majority of the season before a poor run in form in the final games saw them drop into 7th place. This was compounded by being knocked out of the 4th round of the FA Cup by divisions below Leeds United. On the 23rd of May 2017, Radrizzani announced a 100% buyout of Leeds United, buying the remaining 50% shares from previous co-owner Massimo Cellino, with Radrizzani taking full ownership of the club. Gary Monk resigned as head coach 2 days after the takeover, after one season at the club in which he guided them to 7th place. In June 2017, former Spain international Thomas Christiansen was announced as the new head coach of Leeds, joining from APOL. APOL. I don't know. This was followed by Radrizzani introducing Leeds United ladies back to Leeds United ownership. Also in June, Radrizzani completed the purchase of Ellen Road, returning the stadium freehold to the club, which had not been owned since My page is just frozen. Don't know what has gone on. Just completely. Am I still live? I don't know. I think I am. I believe I am. I see the camera, but my whole other page is just completely frozen. This is very strange. I'm getting a new laptop for Christmas, by the way, so you can stop complaining at me for being delayed. We're almost finished as well. Here we are. On the 4th of February 2018, Christiansen was sacked after a bad run of games, which was not a single win since Boxing Year 2017 across all competitions, leaving the club 10th in the championship table. On the 6th of February, Paul Heckingbottom was confirmed as Christiansen's replacement, just 4 days after signing a new contract at Barnsley. On the 24th of May 2018, Leeds announced that 49 Ears Enterprise had bought shares in the club to become a minority investor. The 49ers Enterprises is the business arm of the NFL side San Francisco 49ers, owned by Denise DeBartolo York, Jed York, and John York. Heckingbottom was sacked by Leeds on the 1st of June 2018 after being at the club for just 4 months. Argentine manager Marcelo Bielsa was named the club's new manager on the 15th of June, signing a 2-year contract with an option of a 3rd year. In doing so, he became the highest paid manager in Leeds United's history. Bielsa's first season in charge saw Leeds make an impressive start, and Leeds remained in the top 2 with Norwich City for the majority of the season, on course for automatic promotion to the Premier League. However, a poor end to the season saw the team lose out on automatic promotion to Sheffield United. They entered the playoffs against Derby County, but despite winning 1-0 in the first leg, they ultimately lost 4-3 on aggregate. You're still awful, mate. Consigning them to another season in the Championship. On the 17th of July 2020, after 16 years out of the Premier League, these were promoted back to top flight following West Bromwich Albion's loss to Huddersfield Town and Stoke City's defeat of Brentford the following day, confirmed that they would go up as winners of the Championship. Leeds had been in the top 2 for most of the season and had never dropped lower than 5th in the table, eventually going on to finish 10 points clear of West Brom in 2nd. So, I know all your Leeds fans will clearly have enjoyed my personal tinge and rant at you. And yes, I had to do you. So you can say all you want in the comments, but that will be that. If you're interested in former Championship players and stuff, or lower down the EFL, I've got the EFL Young Player of the Years, Where Are They Now, coming up on Sunday, and the history of your club is again next week with Leicester City. So it's a bye for now.